What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. It's your host Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Gemini Jet's 1:400 scale Alaska Airlines Horizon Air Embraer 175 in the Horizon Air retro livery. This model was released in February and March of 2023. I just picked this up last week, and here it is. In today's video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I will give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. That being said, let's get this review started. So starting up with the box is the standard issue Gemini Jet's narrow body airplane box at 15 centimeters lengthwise and height-wise and 5 centimeters wide. I'll show you on the box now, so here's the front, bottom, right side, top, almost said left side. Now it's the left side. And the back. Take a moment to read this if you'd like to. Something I noticed here on the box art on the back side is the Alaska title has a little bit of an issue up here. You can see that the lowercase a's are filled. They don't have the holes that are designated for the letter A in the Alaska logo. This isn't present on the front of the box, but it's something that I noticed was kind of off. This box features a flap that allows for the model to be seen in the box and a bit of information about the aircraft being replicated. Take a moment to read this if you'd like to. And if you can, the lettering is pretty small. Once you open up the box, you get the model fully painted and assembled and ready to go. Before I start my review, I'd like to give you a quick 360 of the model so you can get a good look at its features. The size of this model is 8 centimeters for the fuselage length, the wingspan is 7.2 centimeters, and from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer, it's 2.5 centimeters tall. Pretty small, but accurate to 1:400 scale. This model is made primarily out of die-cast metal. Starting off the review at the front of the aircraft, here we can see the nose section of the airplane. So the nose shape on this model is actually pretty good. The thing that messes it up is the cockpit window printing. You can see the cockpit windows are definitely a little bit too low on the fuselage there. They should be a little bit higher. But that's really the only issue I have up here. Aside from that, everything else looks pretty good. Printed detail looks pretty good as per usual. I don't notice any real issues. I noticed on the Horizon Air title, there's like a distinct line separating the title horizontally. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like that. Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be like that. So that detail is included, which is pretty nice. Overall, the only real complaint that I have up here is the color of this Alaska title. It's too light of a gray. On the real aircraft, it's a little bit darker than this. Moving down the fuselage, you can see a few more details here and there. Everything looks pretty good aside from the things that I just mentioned, so I won't really say too much. Here's a look at the vertical stabilizer and part of the right side of the fuselage. Vertical stabilizer looks pretty good. On a few examples of this model, I saw that the vertical stabilizer, particularly the edges at the top, had incorrect shapes, as in part of it was effectively sanded or cut off. That was due to production issues, but on this particular unit and the other units that I saw at the store where I bought this, they did not have that issue. Everything looks pretty good up here. The Horizon Air logo looks nice, and I'm going to transition directly to the right side of the fuselage. It's virtually the same as the left side, so I won't provide much commentary. Everything that I said about the left side also applies to the right side. Moving on to the wings in this model have been an area of particular curiosity by the model collecting community, and particularly for the wing flex. However, that is something that I address later in the video, so I won't really talk about that right now. So skip ahead if you want to see the wing flex. The wing itself is pretty nicely detailed. There's a very nice combination of molded, printed, and painted detail. Printed detail looks pretty good in terms of the wing markings. Molded detail in the form of control surfaces and brakes look pretty good. Pretty solid, actually. They're very nice. And painted detail being the metallic paint here on the forward leading edge slats. Those look solid as per usual. No complaints in terms of detail on the wing, and shapes in general look pretty good. Bottom of the wing, there's not any printed detail down here, so it's not very detailed on the bottom of the wing, but that's fine. So no complaints on the wing so far. The wing tips, they're all right. The winglets, I'm not sure what these are exactly called, but I think they still call them winglets despite their unconventional shape. These are pretty good too. I don't notice anything off about them. The only thing that I'd really complain about is this edge back here that's extended. It is like this on the real aircraft, however, it's much smaller than what is shown on the model. And in Gemini's defense, this model is really small, so it is nice that they did try to replicate that detail. So everything on the wing looks solid so far. Moving to the rear section of the aircraft, here I'm going to talk about the APU and the horizontal stabilizers. Horizontal stabilizers look pretty good. You can see just one bit of printed detail on there, and the rest is just painted and molded detail. No complaints, looks pretty solid. Bottom of the aircraft, here is where a lot of the paint stripes align, and okay, it looks like alignment is pretty solid. That is very nice to see. Gemini hasn't really gotten the best alignment with these kind of stripe things, but these all look pretty much perfectly aligned, which is very nice. As for the APU itself, it's just the typical metallic gray. Looks pretty good. There's a little bit of an indentation for the exhaust, which is nice. So yeah, everything's fairly detailed back here. Very solid so far. Alright, so for this section I'm going to talk about the engines, and please bear with me, these engines are incredibly small, so I'm going to try my best to show off all the details that I can. Engines look pretty solid, you can see the fan blades there. These are very small engines because, well, the model is very small, so they have to be pretty small. But nonetheless, they're still pretty detailed, and more importantly, they are not bent upwards. This has been a recent problem for a concerning amount of Gemini's models, particularly on the 1:400 scale 737 MAX series and the Embraer E-Jet series, or I think this is what the E-Jets are. Just the Embraer 170, 175, 190, and 195. Those aircraft have had issues with their engines being bent up, but this one does not. And the engines look pretty nicely detailed. Okay, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be there, actually, that gray mark. I was scared for a moment. That gray mark is supposed to be there. That is not a stain. That is an intentional painted detail. Everything looks pretty good back here. You can even see that the back of the exhausts are pointed as they should be on the real aircraft, which is very nice. So engines are pretty solid. The bottoms of the engines are nicely detailed as well, detailed as they should be, and I mean, as detailed as they can possibly be given their size. In terms of aerial details, this model has one antenna, which is the large antenna at the bottom of the aircraft. You can see it here. It's pretty good. It's very sharp, so when you're handling this model, you might want to be careful because some units are a little bit sharper than others. This one isn't really as sharp, but still, don't mess with it like I am because you will poke yourself and there's a very high risk of breaking it. It is very fragile too. Here's the bottom of the aircraft. The bottom of the fuselage is very nicely detailed with a lot of printed detail to go around. You can see all the details there. So printed detail on the bottom of the fuselage is definitely not lacking. Very nicely done on Gemini's part there. The landing gear on this model, they're all right. You can kind of see that their attachment didn't really go in too well. There's definitely an imbalance in the way that the gears were attached. And yeah, they don't look like they line up too much. We'll check the gear balance momentarily. But yeah, the landing gear, they're nicely detailed. They do roll, but yeah, their attachment looks pretty questionable. As for the nose gear, it's even worse. There's little bits of plastic sticking out from the wheels, and that's because these wheels, I presume they're cut off of a parts tree. Whoever was cutting them or whatever was cutting them did not do a very good job. And I can trim this with a hobby knife, but it's a very delicate and dangerous operation, so that is kind of upsetting to see. And this is the section that I presume most collectors are here for: wing flex, gear balance, and cockpit window printing. So I'll address the wing flex right away. Gemini has had a terrible reputation with wing flex on the Embraer 175. However, it appears as though they've started to actually work on fixing it because the wing flex on this particular model is not as high as previous releases, which is very nice to see. It's a step in the right direction, which is very rare from Gemini these days. However, other things suffered in return, I guess, like the title color that I mentioned, and now just realizing the asymmetry of the cockpit windows. You can definitely see they're tilted towards the left side of the aircraft or the right side of your screen. And don't even get me started on the stripes here. What the hell happened right there? Yikes. Alignment of the stripes definitely wasn't good here on the nose. Aside from that, though, gear balance actually looks somewhat decent, which is a surprise. But yeah, definitely things suffered in terms of detail application. And with that, my review for this model is over. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. So this thing is very tiny. It's a small model, so therefore it's hard to put on some details. But with some of the quality control things that I pointed out, those shouldn't be happening, yet they are. So quality control is spotty on this aircraft. However, it's still pretty nice, and more importantly, the wing flex was improved. That was a big thing for us collectors. So I do recommend this model cautiously. Like always, with all Gemini models, just proceed with caution. If you can buy one at a store, buy it at the store so you can inspect it before you buy it, because sometimes these have some very nasty quality control surprises, like you saw here. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below in the comment section. Give me any feedback. I always appreciate feedback. And stay tuned for more model airplane content. I've been buying airplanes like a madman again. And I hope to see you in my next video. Take care of yourselves. See you later.